From our perspective in IFAD, whether you looking at food from a production perspective or from a consumption angle, diversity is essential. Monocropping, as we know it, deletes the soil, making the land less fertile over time. And too little diversity leaves agricultural systems vulnerable to disease and pests. Sustainable food systems need a diverse range of species, genetic variations, and ecosystems so that agricultural land can be productive for generation after generation. With a growing middle class in developing countries, most of them living in cities, we are already witnessing a transition in diet and consumption to higher consumption of meat, fruit, and vegetable and related cereals. This requires a commensurate shift in production systems and is adding pressure on degraded natural resources. It also requires a much stronger research agenda, an agenda that prioritized varieties and crops that are resilient to climate change and adapted to farmers' local environments. I do believe that the world's 500 million small farms have a crucial role to play in ensuring the long-term sustainability of food systems and providing diverse nutrition food for rural and urban markets alike. Small family farms are responsible for up to 80% of food production in Africa and Asia. They contribute to the diversity of our food supply because they grow a wide variety of crops, many of which are traditional varieties. In fact, some of today's most popular food, such as quinoa, have been staple smallholders' crop for centuries, but are now only reaching wider markets. Indigenous and traditional communities use 200 or more species for food. Clearly, they have more to contribute. These species also need to be nurtured and protected. IFAD projects have helped a lot of smallholders access developing markets for traditional crops, thereby increasing their livelihood and helping preserve those varieties that we are talking about. Smallholders farmers are too often among the poorest of the poor. 4 out of 5 of the world's poorest people, those living below the $1.90 a day, so 4 out of 5 live in the rural area of developing countries. Most depend on small-scale agriculture for their livelihood, and these are already threatened by climate risks. And these are people we work with. About 90% of our core resources are for the low-income countries and the lower middle-income countries. Part of our priority is the promotion of sustainable diet and the reduction of food losses that we just heard about, and the waste throughout the whole value chain. The nutrition dimension is quite important. Every day, we do know more than 700 million people will go to bed hungry, most of them in rural areas. Food security is not just about having reliable access to enough calories. It also incorporates having reliable access to a nutritious and balanced diet. This, in turn, requires diversity. Investing in farming practices that increases both production and diversity is a win-win for all, resulting in higher income on one hand, greater resilience, and better nutrition on the other hand. So how do we ensure that the food system of the future offer more diversity and are more sustainable and nutrition sensitive? I would like to suggest a few points. First, through strong advocacy to raise awareness of the link between agricultural development and better nutrition. And obviously, a summit like this one is an important role in that direction. Second, through better collaboration and partnership, including with the private sector, because nutrition is multi-sectoral and food systems are inherently complex. Third point, through helping all farmers, including smallholders, to adapt to the impact of climate change. And particular attention should be paid to the empowering women to have a greater say in household decisions, in household decision making and control over household income, as well as a greater access to land, access to advisory and extension services, and access to rural finance. And most importantly, we need to ensure that smallholders are an integral part of our food value chain system. This means acknowledging that farming at any scale is or should be a business, and ensuring that smallholders have what they need to succeed, including land, the rural finance I referred to earlier, and fair access to market. One group that is particularly disadvantaged is the indigenous populations. They make up 5% of the world population, yet 15% of the world poor. In many countries, they have much higher unemployment rates, especially for young people. I can give just one example where IFAD, with a Danish nonprofit, the International Work Group for Indigenous Affairs, helped empower a lot of indigenous people. And since 2009, we have been partnering from the slow food that was referred to earlier today, this morning, to build a global network of indigenous peoples striving for food sovereignty and the preservation of the biocultural diversity. Ladies and gentlemen, a diet that lacks diversity is not only bland and somehow boring, but also unhealthy. And the world of diminished biodiversity will be a terrible loss. But we can't do something about it. Investing in smallholders is an investment in diversity, both for today and for the years to come. Thank you so much.